What's up guys, Noah Sanford here. Really quick video today on a really great tip that you guys can use when it comes to re-spooling either your spinning reels or your bait casting reels. Let's jump right into it. Obviously the first step is going to be stripping the old line off of your reel. So we've got my Phoenix Feather right here and the Denali Novus reel. I'm gonna go ahead and get this old line off of here. I've been running this 30-pound braid for probably 4 or 5 months with almost daily use, so it's definitely ready for a change. All right, now that we've got our old line off of here, we're gonna toss that guy in the trash can. And now another quick tip I'm gonna share with you guys what I like to do with all of my setups, whether it's a spinning reel or a bait casting reel. You can see I left just a little bit of line on there. And so actually underneath this little bit of braid that's left here, I have about 5 or 10 yards of like 8-pound monofilament line. And so what that actually does is it creates a nice sticky base layer of monofilament line. So that way, especially when you're running braided line, sometimes fluorocarbon, but mainly braided line is where you have to worry about that line slipping on the base of the spool. So I'll always put a couple cranks of monofilament line down there on the base. So that way I ensure I have a nice grippy bottom section that I can wind the line onto. So what I'm doing now, I've got the monofilament down there below this little bit of braid that's left, and I'm just gonna tie the rest of the new line onto this existing braid with a quick blood knot, and that's going to just make things simpler. It's gonna make it to where I don't have to re-strip everything, nice and easy. If you're doing this with a new reel that you have not yet put line on, like I said, I'd recommend adding a little bit of monofilament and then tying a quick connection knot to that braided line, just to give you that peace of mind that your line is not going to be slipping on the spool. All right, as you can see here, we've got our blood knot tied, really teeny tiny little connection knot there. It's the connection knot I use for basically all of my leaders, whether I'm doing this or I'm actually putting a fluorocarbon 2-braid leader where I'm actually fishing. So if you guys want to check out and learn how to tie that knot, I'll link it down in the description of a video that I've already made on how to tie that knot. Without further ado, this is the trick you guys probably clicked on this video for. Now we're going to be putting the new line onto our reel, and here's what you want to do. The problem that I've always found with trying to put new line on a reel, especially braided line, is it's very difficult to get the line to lay down tightly, and it's always just turns into a mess because you think you get it on tight enough and then you go out and you start backlashing the crap out of your reel because you didn't do it tight enough. And the other problem you're also going to encounter is that even though you think you put it on tight enough, since the line wasn't wet, once the line does get wet, it does shrink a little bit. So even though your spool is full, by the time you're out there fishing with it for a few casts, your spool starts to get smaller and smaller and smaller, because as that line gets more wet, it starts to shrink. And so really when you thought you had a full spool, you only have like 2/3 of a spool worth of line. And so this is going to save you from both of those issues. What you want to do is either get like a 5-gallon bucket, a really big kitchen bowl, or in this case, I've got just like this little blue bucket thing that probably holds like 2 gallons of water. So you want to fill this thing almost to the top with fresh water. And so if you have a pool, you want to make sure you don't want to do it in the pool. I've seen people do that before. Chlorine's actually really bad for braided line, and so you don't want to get chlorine all over your line. Make sure you're using fresh water. So now that we have this fresh thing of water, I'm gonna go ahead and just put it on the ground there, and I'm gonna show you guys what we're doing. We're gonna set that thing of water on the ground, and with our new spool of line, we're gonna go ahead and just set that spool of line down in that bucket of water. And now, not only is that bucket of water going to provide us with some tension on the line, but it's also going to make sure that that line is wet while we're applying it to the reel, thus making sure that it's gonna lay down the exact same way it's going to lay down when it's wet when you're fishing with it. So basically we're just gonna hold the line in front of our reel like this and start winding. That water bucket is already going to give me plenty of tension on the line to where it's already tight, and you can see it kind of just spinning down there in the water. And so not only is that water bucket gonna give me a lot more tension than I would have had if the reel was just sitting on the counter or something, but it's also going to make sure that that line is being applied to my reel while it's wet. And like I said, it's just really important, because if you do this when the line is dry, you're gonna run into that same problem I was talking about. You're gonna get out there to the lake, you're gonna make 5 or 6 casts, and then all of a sudden, even though you thought you had a full spool, that spool is only gonna be like 2/3, as thick as it was when you were applying it dry, and that's because that line does shrink and grab tighter to the spool when it's wet. So really, really good trick here, guys. I'm almost done here. This is 30-pound braid on a 100 size reel, so it's not gonna take very long. Got a few more cranks left, but like I said, this has saved me so many times in the past from not only worrying about that line not being at full capacity, but also making sure that it's on there nice and straight and tight. And that's probably gonna do it right there. I might have even done a little bit too much, so I'm probably gonna strip a little bit off of that. But that goes to show you guys, you can see that my spool is nice and tight. It's also very level, right? One side is not gonna be higher than the other. And so your line's gonna be nice and tight. You're not gonna have to worry about any of that line slipping. You're not gonna have to worry about your spool being uneven. You can see it's nice and level on there. So hopefully that was a good tip for you guys. If that was helpful, make sure to leave a comment below. Smash that like button. My name is Noah Sanford. We'll see you guys out on the water.